While the difference between these two idiots, sorry, they're not idiots, but between these two people is like light and day with the Clinton Foundation. This other guy's as ambiguous as he can get. Doesn't want to step on anybody's toes or clearly make a statement, and it's just sickening. But when you go to the Judicial Watch, he's pretty obviously clear on what he knows and understands.
Documents. Would you be qualified to provide an audit in terms of what they've done or not done, based on the documents you've reviewed?
I'm not certain of the question.
Based on the documents?
This guy is as ambiguous as they can get. He needs kicked in the head somewhere else, too.
You've reviewed.
Yep.
Would you be qualified to be able to give an opinion on an audit of the Trump Foundation?
So I think you're asking, have I seen every single possible document out there? And I have not seen every possible document out there. I'm doing based on what the public record is, and that was it that I had done in that.
So based on public record, you're saying that there's enough in the public record to say that there should be a criminal referral, Mr. Hackney? You know, you're a law professor. I mean, I would find that just unimaginable.
I think that's different than saying that he's definitely in there. Different, I discussed to the fact that...
but my question remains, are you saying there's enough in the public domain to refer it as a criminal matter?
I believe there were, in the instance where...
He will not say a yes on that. He's as slimy as a fish.
Under oath, so
I understand.
And you're a law professor, so I want to see your students be able to answer this accurately.
Absolutely. I believe where we know that there is a high likelihood that there have been false statements in a return and there have been choices.
And how do you know that?
It appears that there were false statements.
Appears and know are two different words.
I understand what you're saying.
So you don't know?
I believe based on the public record, and that was what I was writing it based upon.
So based on a public record, you think there's enough for a criminal referral?
I believe that in that report that there was enough to show possible problems there. But again, I don't want to go into that, and I did not prepare to talk to specific facts. This hearing was called at the last minute, and I have not had that time.
Well, you as a witness were called at the last minute by the minority, so I just want to make sure that that's clear.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman.
So let me go a little bit further, Mr. Fitton. I want to talk about, everybody's talking about how great the Clinton Foundation is and how above board and A ratings and platinum ratings and gold ratings and all of this. There is a report from November 10th of 2008, which is an internal audit. It actually comes from an internal audit that has a conclusion. It says the challenges and deficiencies.
This is from one internal audit, and it is significant enough in my mind to file criminal charges. Listen to this internal audit report.
Plaguing the foundation cannot be overstated. There are real and undermine the organization's effectiveness immediately and more long term. To address these issues that present immediate threats, the foundation should revamp its legal and HR operations, should review its governance structure and documents, and should have an open and honest discussion with the president about the future of the foundation. Would you not find that alarming if that was the conclusion of an internal audit, Mr. Fitton?
I wouldn't want to get an audit like that.
So...
the problem is there's another audit in 2000.
Yeah, you got a microphone.
Oh, there was another audit in 2011 that raised some of the same issues.
Well, that's...
Not as directly, but suggesting...
Well, that's where I was going, and I appreciate you mentioning that, because that was in 2010, and then another audit in 2011, as you talk about, by a very different firm, talked about the potential conflicts of interest. And the fact that those conflicts of interest policies that were suggested to be put in place. However, this is a quote, however, we did not find any evidence of the enforcement of the conflict of conflict of interest. Are you saying that in your discovery process with FOIA that there is a potential conflict of interest between the charitable mission of the Clinton Foundation and what might have been going on? Have you found that?
Yes. Mrs. Clinton.
So he says, yes, there's a conflict of interest and where it's going and what they've done with monies. He says right out, yes. This is why I like the Judicial Watch and Tom Fitton.
Clinton and Mr. Clinton and the foundation recognized those potential conflicts of interest and tried to reassure the President Obama and the Senate that they would be taken care of and disclosed. And as I said, they were either rubber stamped or key aspects of it weren't disclosed. And or in the case of Mrs. Clinton,
key aspects of it were not disclosed or was rubber stamped. Either way, these conflict of interest were not seriously looked at.
then she directly started violating her own agreement by dealing with this Sidney Blumenthal and allowing her staff to, on a regular basis, take care of Clinton Foundation interests using public resources.
Mr. Fitton, is it likely, based on reports that you've seen, is it likely that the special counsel is also looking into things other than Russian collusion narratives for President Trump?
Now, this is an important and interesting question. He says, and we're talking about the special, losing my brains. Let's go back to this part.
The problem is there's another audit in 2000.
Yeah, you got a microphone.
Oh, there was another audit in 2011 that raised some of the same issues.
Well, that's
not as directly, but suggesting.
Well, that's where I was going, and I appreciate you mentioning that because that was in 2010, and then another audit in 2011, as you talk about, by a very different firm, talked about the potential conflicts of interest. And the fact that those conflicts of interest policies that were suggested to be put in place. However, this is a quote, however, we did not find any evidence of the enforcement of the conflict of conflict of interest. Are you?
No enforcement of the conflict of interest. And this is Tom Fitton, and he says yes. But the Mueller investigation, he's going to ask an important question. The Mueller investigation, Tom Fitton believes that it's also looking at the conflict of interest in this Clinton Foundation.
Are you saying that in your discovery process with FOIA that there is a potential conflict of interest between the charitable mission of the Clinton Foundation and what might have been going on? Have you found that?
Yes. Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Clinton and the foundation recognized those potential conflicts of interest and tried to reassure the President Obama and the Senate that they would be taken care of and disclosed. And as I said, they were either rubber stamped or key aspects of it weren't disclosed. And or in the case of Mrs. Clinton.
Now, this is the Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton. And the key statement here is he says they're either rubber stamped or weren't disclosed, but there were conflict of interest with these internal audits and with the Clintons on what they did and didn't do with funds in that foundation.
Clinton, she directly started violating her own agreement by dealing with this Sidney Blumenthal and allowing her staff.
Sidney Blumenthal and others. Now, the Mueller investigation is looking at this also. You're going to see this come up as a key question here, and it's paramount that we understand what's going on here. There are other things going on besides this Russian collusion here that Mueller is going to be forced to look at, or some other attorney general or somebody with special prosecuting powers going to have to look at. So this is all going to come to a head in 2019 somehow.
To, on a regular basis, take care of Clinton Foundation interests using public resources.
Mr. Fitton, is it likely, based on
using public resources? And now this is the important question. Listen to what he asked about Mueller.
reports that you've seen, is it likely that the special counsel is also looking into things other than Russian collusion narratives for President Trump, based on reports that you've read? Are they looking into other matters as it relates to President Trump?
Oh, yes, I would assume the Southern District investigation, the campaign finance allegations that have been raised up there were as a result initially of interest from the special
Is it likely that they're looking into the Trump Foundation as well?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. What, based on your testimony, I guess what I'm trying to figure out, if the special counsel is looking at that, why would Attorney General Eric Holder not have looked into some of the issues as it related to the Uranium One deal? And why would they have?
So this is a problem with Eric Holder and with the Uranium One deal, with the Clintons. And there's a real conflict of interest and justice with Eric Holder and what's going on here, and a bias and an oversight that is legally wrong.
Look the other way, because apparently, according to your testimony, they did not know whether the FBI or DOJ ever alerted the committee members to criminal activity that they uncovered. And that was a quote from your written testimony.
So they're saying Eric Holder and other individuals in the FBI did not see criminal activity and did not warn anybody about that criminal activity with the Clinton Foundation and with Uranium One. And there was. Make no mistake about it, there was criminal activity.
The investigation was ultimately supervised by U.S. Attorney Rod Rosenstein.
And there you go, Rosenstein again. And you're going to find Mueller in this too.
And Andy McCabe. Isn't it amazing how these names continue to show up? Isn't it amazing? And with that, if there's no further business before this panel, we will excuse you two gentlemen. We thank you for your testimony, and we'll ask the next panel to be set up.
Again, they're investigating this, and these names keep coming up, and Mueller keeps coming up, Rosenstein keeps coming up, Holter, other individuals. There's a slew of criminal activity in the higher DOJ and the FBI. Make no two ways about it. Anyhow, I'm going to end it here. This was taken at the Anton Express, Q-Anton, and this is about the Clinton Fraud Foundation, and this is from Judicial Watch. This is why I support Tom Fitton and the Judicial Watch, because they're clear and distinctive on what they're going after, and they're going after the fraud in the Clinton Foundation. Again, this is Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Good day.